There it is. Maybe that's why it's not working. So we are live. Anyways, boy, this is Santos Rolon Jr. here. We are live in Stockton, California, in the Inspiration Chamber. Let's see if anybody comes on. I know I've been asked to I've been asked to come online and share some of my story, a little bit about my story, and help out a few folks. So here I am. I'm going live. I'm waiting to see if anybody decides to come on. We're talking about gambling. We're talking about winning over gambling. We're talking about leading a victorious life over gambling. I know this has been a very, very really nice weekend. Many people are doing many things this weekend, and I know that's what I used to do when I was in my gambling days. I used to just go and Friday nights, Saturday nights, of course, it got to a situation in my life where it was just really bad. It was really bad. And 30 plus years of gambling, I tell you, I struggled for a long time. I've had some really difficult days. I lost a lot, tens of thousands of dollars. Depression was always with me. By the way, I see somebody on the online there. Appreciate you. I've been asked to do this. I've been asked to talk about my victories. I've been asked to share, how I've been able to overcome gambling and how I've been able to have a more victorious mindset every single day. And that's what I practice I consider myself a soldier of self-mastery today. I'm excited, I'm grateful, and I am both expectant. My story goes way back, and I don't really want to get into my story here, but I can tell you that if you have the desire, number one, if you have the desire to stop gambling, if that desire shows up in your life, if it shows up in your life and you see it, that's the time to take advantage. That is the time to seek or seize the moment or the opportunity, like they say. That's what I did. I began to do a lot of things. I watch a lot of video content. Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar, Anthony Robbins, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, Bob Proctor, and many others. I will say that the ones that have had the most profound impact in my life have been Dr. Maxwell Maltz and Earl Nightingale. They've been the two that have really, and I still listen to their material. I mean, their videos go on for hours and hours. So people that truly want to overcome and have a more victorious life, you got to be willing to do whatever it takes in order to become victorious. And again, desire is key. You got to notice that. You got to be consciously aware of the desire. Once that desire begins to show up, man, it's time for you to take action. A lot of people don't recognize that because we're not consciously aware. See, and I talk about this in my videos. I talk a lot about being consciously aware of your mindset. I talk a lot about being consciously aware of your surroundings. And all of that it ties in with your desire, along with the rituals that you can do every single little things, just little things that you can do. Again, I'm going to emphasize this desire. If you have the desire, believe me, you can stop doing just about anything you want to. I mean, if I can stop after 30 plus years, if I can live a life of freedom, a life of I'm excited, and I'm also grateful. If I can do what I'm doing, coming from a traumatic background, abuses, fears, insecurities. Now, most people look at me and they say, well, you've been through 8 years of the military. You've never really experienced all of those things. I have. I've experienced more. In fact, if you watch my videos, if you listen to some of my testimonial videos on my playlist, you can see I share bits and pieces of my story. I mean, it was pretty bad for me as a childhood. I was pretty messed up here. In fact, honestly, sometimes I think, man, why am I still alive? I'm still alive for a reason, for a purpose. I know that. I know what my purpose and my reason is today. But for a while there, man, people took advantage of me. I was afraid of people. I was afraid to express myself. I was a puppet for these casinos. I was a puppet for other types of drugs. I mean, literally a puppet. I was being controlled by these belief systems that were inserted into my mind that I wasn't even aware of. I had no idea. I was not aware that these belief systems were controlling me. And it wasn't until I began to educate myself a little bit. Again, I began to listen to Earl Nightingale. I began to read the Bible. The Bible has had a tremendous impact in my life too. There's a chapter in the Old Testament in the book of Proverbs that I've often referred to, chapter 18, the book of Proverbs. And that if you understand the power of your speech, of how you talk to yourself and how you talk to others, and how you allow others to talk to you. Now, we're getting input from all kinds of different areas. And in this world that we live in today, I'm telling you, the input from TV, from news, I mean, it's easy to become depressed. It's easy to fall prey to some kind of a scam, to some kind of an individual. It's easy. There's a lot of people out there today that are they're so good at what they do. And obviously, if we're not prepared in our mind, if we're living in insecurities, if we're living in fears, if we're living, if we're a traumatized individual because of our background, casino is evil, man. Keep telling your story. I'm going to continue to tell my story. I'm going to continue to share. Exactly. Because I have a responsibility today. I'm a free man. This morning I got up, yesterday morning I got up. It feels good to wake up every single morning and not have to worry about the casinos or money or other things of that nature that are tied into gambling or doing other things that you feel really, shitty about. Because I tell you, you do, man. I remember I would come home from those casino stints and I would be in bed for 2 or 3 days, just totally depressed, man. Just literally thinking, man, how am I going to escape this garbage? But when I began to notice the desire, that's when I began to really take, and I quit watching TV. I stopped watching TV and I began to work on myself. I said, there's got to be a way out of this. And I began to watch videos. I began to search the internet. Instead of just being on social media sites and wasting my time, I began to educate myself is what I did. That's what I did. I began to take notes. As I mentioned, I'm always writing. Actually, my notepad's in the back. I began to take notes every time that I listened to somebody, a video, somebody that was talking. And of course, not everybody that talks to you and I through videos or online is actually being honest. I noticed that a lot of people are dishonest. They don't have, a lot of people just don't have the integrity. We got to learn to listen to people that have integrity, people that truly have faith, that are actually living it. And I'll tell you honestly, I'm living every single day in victory. I'm grateful. I'm excited. Sometimes it's hard for me to believe that I'm free, but I've done the work. I've reprogrammed my thinking process, and that's the key there. I talk about belief systems. I talk about the battle being right up here in the mind, and that's where you got to win that battle. Because gambling is a lie. Gambling is a belief system, and once it lodges into our paradigm, once it lodges into our subconscious, it begins to control us. Just like we do things, every day we're doing things out of habit, out of kind of autopilot. We're doing things. Those are belief systems that have lodged in. And of course, some of the belief systems that we have are good. Obviously they're good. But a lot of them are bad. And that's where we really need to work on reprogramming ourselves. By the way, I thank you for watching. Those of you that are watching, hopefully I can continue doing more of these live and just share and encourage you that You know, again, I'm out here in Stockton, California. I'm 51. I'm going to be 51 years young. And I gambled for probably about 30 plus years. And it was a horror story. I've been homeless with my family. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars. I've been humiliated. I've humiliated myself many times over. I've stolen money. I mean, it's bad. It was bad. And I'm grateful today that I'm totally free. So my job, my responsibility, I have the right to encourage people, and not just gambling, because gambling leads to other things too: drug addictions, alcoholism, smoking, and other things that can basically become very destructive. I remember this one lady called me not too long ago. She was literally crying on the phone, telling me that she was in bad shape. She caught one of my videos and she was hoping to speak with me on the phone, and she did. We talked for a little bit. She was telling me how she was stealing from her place of work, stealing money from the registers, and I thought, I've been there. Well, I didn't literally steal money from a register, but I've done some really horrible things that I'm not happy about. I've learned to forgive myself. I've learned to love myself, and I've learned to go forward. And that's the process once you begin to kick the habit. Once you break that habit, you got to go forward. You got to kind of almost like rebuild yourself. Rebuild your self-esteem. Rebuild, relationships, obviously. Your finances. Because when you're gambling, your finances are a wreck. And I tell you, I'm very, very grateful that I'm free today. And I'll share a few things too. Earl Nightingale, one of my coaches, he talks about you will become what you think about. You will become what you think about. Now, that's kind of very mysterious, but it's true. The image that you hold on to in your mind, you will become. If you believe every single day that you're a gambler, well, guess what? You're going to act like a gambler, and you're going to do the gambler things. If you begin to believe that you're not a gambler, now I'm talking about holding an image in your mind, and there's a process. That's why I talk about watch the videos, plug into the sources, read the books, write, talk to yourself. I remember when I started understanding neuro-linguistic programming, people laugh at me sometimes because I am a little bit strange. I use reverse psychology on myself. I started talking to myself as if I was not a gambler. I started telling myself that. I would look at myself in the mirror and call myself a non-gambler. In fact, I would look in the mirror and I would say, Santos, you're not a gambler. You lose every time that you go gamble. You lose money. You're not a gambler. In fact, you suck at gambling. And I would just literally talk to myself. And then after a while, after doing that, along with all the other rituals that I was doing, I began to overcome those belief systems that I had in my mind. And it took a little bit, I will say that, but desire drove me. I got tired of getting beat up by that bully called, gambling. I got tired of it, man. I got tired of walking around with chunks of my ass missing, is what was going on. I literally just got tired of it. And the hardest thing is to find a thing with the same action. Well, like I say, in my last video, it was a long video that I created. And if you haven't watched it, it's about a 25 minute video. I would encourage you to watch it. Faith comes by hearing and by watching. Now, you don't have to sit there and stare at my face, but you can play it in the background. The best times to reprogram your mind. See, this is the key. The key is you got to reprogram your mind. And two of the best times to do that is early in the morning, as soon as you get out of bed. Have a little headphone set, plug into something, take 15-20 minutes and listen to something that's going to generate faith. You may not necessarily feel electricity, or you may not necessarily feel the power of that immediately, but the more that you do that in the morning, especially upon arising out of bed, and late at night before you go to bed, Those are the two best times. That's where your brain waves are the slowest, and your mind is more receptive. Your subconscious area is going to receive more. That's why you got to hit it hard. You got to hit your mind hard during those times, because during the day your mind is firing. Hopefully your mind is firing on all cylinders. I know some people's minds is not firing on all cylinders, but your mind is very active during the day. In the morning and just before you go to bed, those are the times to really pressure those belief systems that you have. And that's what I've been able to do. Of course, I wanted it so bad. I was driving my car, listening to my own affirmations that I would record on my phone. Literally, I'd be driving when I was working. I have the privilege of working from home right now. But I would record my own voice, my own affirmations, things that I would learn, things that I wanted, the person that I wanted to become. I would literally record that and listen to it through a headset while I was driving. I would do that. I'd keep a little piece of paper, because I'm always writing. I'd keep a little piece of paper with my affirmations. Who am I? I'm a non-gambler. I'm a leader. I'm a great person. I'm a loving guy. You know, I'm a person that does what he says he's going to do. I would literally write that down on paper. Whenever I went to the bathroom, I would pull that piece of paper out. I would look at it. I'm telling you, if you want to be free, if you want to be totally free, and I'm not just talking about gambling. It could be some other stuff. You got to have that image. You got to paint that image into your mind. You got to paint that image. I will tell my online gambling support group about you, maybe. Well, I'm going to try to work on these live videos. I know I've been asked. This is kind of a first one for me. I've never done a webinar. I've never done anything. I'm just kind of speaking out of inspiration to share with others, to give hope to others, because I know some of you that are out there watching my videos, I know that you can win. In fact, some of you have already won, because you understand some of the positive philosophy that I'm sharing. This works. It's worked for me. It may work faster for some of you. I mean, for me, it worked pretty quick, because I was just hitting my brain. I was hitting my brain. When I began to understand the battle was up here, I hit it with all kinds of stuff, with videos, with books, with writing, with my own speech, neuro-linguistic programming, and affirmations, as I said. Man, I don't care if I went to the toilet. If I went to the toilet 3 times, I'd pull out that piece of paper and I would read it to this is who I am. And sometimes I would get discouraged because, I didn't really feel nothing happening. But then after a while, I began to sense a real strong change. I was like, wow. Next you know, I'm not doing those things anymore. I mean, they were just, these things that I was doing were just falling off like dead branches on a tree. And then what really was amazing was when I began to look back and I thought, wow, how can I share this with people? What have I literally done to myself here? What have I literally done to myself? And then I began to realize that what I was doing was I was just basically breaking paradigms. I was breaking belief systems. I wasn't focused on habits. I wasn't focused on trying to break bad habits. I was basically focused on engineering and creating positive habits, because I had learned that the positive habits would override the negatives. And that's exactly what they did. So making videos for me has been a form of therapy, and watching videos. As I mentioned earlier on, Earl Nightingale, powerful speaker, of course he's passed on. His videos, I would encourage you to watch some of his videos. Earl Nightingale, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, M-A-L-T-Z, Maltz, M-A-L-T-Z, Maxwell Maltz. He's another one. He talks about paradigms. He talks about the vision that we hold on to. Learn to get a vision. Learn to get the proper vision of yourself. And I'm telling you, once that vision locks in, it's over with, man. All of these things that you're struggling with will begin to just go away. You'll lose the desire for them, because the belief systems will kick in, and belief systems create habits, and habits create lifestyle. And of course, if you want freedom, you got to do the freedom things that are going to actually help you get there. So, I'm not going to keep this video here. I've been on here for about 20 minutes. I hope I truly hope, again, it is Sunday. I hope that some of you woke up today free. I hope that some of you woke up with a super positive and a super grateful mindset. And another thing that has helped me is to give. I've been able to pour myself out in my videos. I do a lot of writing. Pour yourself out in writing. Imagine, as much time as you have, write your life out. The person that you want to become, what you want to be like, what you want to act like. Write it out. Put it on paper, and then begin talking to yourself. I had to overcome a lot of fears, a lot of insecurities. I grew up in a very, very violent home, very violent, and a lot of fears were instituted into my mindset, into my subconscious early on. I was not aware of any of this. So I grew up with a lot of fears, a lot of insecurities. I was very introverted. I was afraid of men. I was literally afraid of men, and I didn't know why. Because of my father figure. My father was very, very violent, many fights. And I'm not going to get into that here. It's just, it was abuses of different kinds. And of course, I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up on the projects. And outside of my home, it wasn't any better. Violent fights, shootings, stabbings, people deceiving people shooting drugs, just bad stuff. And then at the age of 18, I went into the Navy. I served 8 years in the United States Navy. Some of my belief systems were suspended while I was in the Navy, but as soon as I got out of the Navy, it's like all of these belief systems came back with a vengeance. They were suspended because I was being controlled. In the military, you're controlled more or less. You got to do what they tell you. So also, when I go back and I reflect about how powerful the mind is, I went through a major transformation in boot camp. And as I go back and think, your mind is powerful. Your mind is extremely powerful. It's more powerful than you realize. It's more powerful than you give it credit. That's why I talk about these things. Bombard those belief systems. Do what you can. Take advantage. When you feel that desire, use it up. And next thing you know, you're gonna have victory in your life. And start talking victory. You remember what I said earlier? You're gonna become what you think about. You will become also what you speak. If you believe you're a non-gambler, you keep telling yourself that, calling yourself that, eventually you're going to begin to believe it, as long as you're doing all the rituals that go along with it. So I hope this truly helps you, my friend. I'll be doing another one maybe sometime this week or maybe next weekend. Depends on what kind of response I get. Again, I'm here to help people get the victory in their lives. Get excited, become expectant, believe. 2017 is the year of breakthrough. Believe in your breakthrough, my friend. Every single day I believe in some kind of a breakthrough. Some kind of a breakthrough every single day. Have an expectant attitude, have a grateful attitude, and believe that these belief systems that are ruling, if indeed they still are ruling in your mind, that you can win over them. If I can do what I'm doing, my friend, if I can live free, if I can be, and I get tempted, but I fight. It's a lot easier to fight today because I've exercised my subconscious, and the paradigms in my mind are just getting broader and broader and into the things that I want to be focused on. That's the key. Desire, you focus, you plug into the sources, and you just do the things that you need to do every single day when you're away from the casino. And if you slip, if you go to a casino, hey, talk to yourself while you're pulling on that handle. Talk to yourself while you're rolling the dice. Talk to yourself while you're playing the cards. In your mind, tell yourself, you're not supposed to be here. You're not a winner. You're not a gambler. Talk to yourself, because I'll tell you, that's going to make the big difference. So with that said, I'm going to continue to make every single day a super fantastic, terrific, over the top day. Peace. Thank you to those of you that have watched. I see that there was a few of you that have participated. Maybe someday I can get some questions and answers going back and forth. I'd love to do that. If anybody has ideas, you can comment on my videos. I'm open to suggestions. But I'll tell you, you're looking at one free man from here till the day I leave planet Earth. And I'm hoping to do that for as many of you out there as possible. Encourage you and build up your faith so that you can live free every single day. Peace. I'll see you on the next one.